Hello everyone, my name is Shaptoshi and welcome to another episode of Kaleidoscope. Yes, now as you can see from the thumbnail, t-shirt I am wearing today, and today I am going to discuss or put my views upon the events of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Yes, the most famous and the renowned franchisee of Hollywood right now. And as you all know, if you are a Marvel nerd or geek or a fan, that today in Disney Plus Hotstar, Wanda Vision is going to be released. Now before I begin with the video, I would like to request you to follow the links given in the description, and if you are new to my channel, please subscribe and press the bell icon. Also, there are minor disturbances in my neighborhood today because there is a ceremony, so please bear with me. Now, I have also been a huge fan of the Marvel Cinematic Universe or the MCU because it is due to the fact that the studio often takes certain elements from the comic books like famous storylines or certain events. They improvise them and they also add realistic humor as well as alter some origin stories or something, and they try to keep the human emotion and a very realistic explanation on how the science of the story works. That's the fact I loved about the MCU. They also try to add newer faces who have not given many hits and cast them into certain important roles in characters of the Marvel's universe that they become a flag holder. Next up, I would like to talk about the events of the rich history of the MCU. Now, since the dawn of creation, there exist 6 singularities which are referred to as Infinity Stones after the Big Bang, and they represent every aspect of nature. For example, like mind, space, time, reality, power and soul. First of all, the Celestials, who are the elders of the universe, use them to create and destroy civilizations across. They also use them to create superpowered beings called the Eternals and Deviants to protect the universe. Examples of Celestials include the Grand Master, the Collector, even Ego himself was a Celestial, and many comic book fans also know that Galactus is also a Celestial. The exact event that happened next, or that is known to us up till now, was the first conflict at Svartalfheim. It was between the Dark Elves and Malekith and the father of Odin, Bor. So Bor versus Malekith. Malekith tried to consume the world and with darkness using the ether, which is the reality stone at present, during the convergence. So there was a fight between 518 AD, or the year 518. Odin's son was born in Asgard. Now we also don't know the exact year when Thor was born, but in Infinity War, which was released in 2018.
You know, I'm 1500 years old.
Thor's birth year around this year 965. Odin confronted the frost giants in Jotunheim, which is shown at the prelude of Thor movie, the first Thor movie, and he fought Loki and adopted a young Loki. So that makes Thor older than Loki. Around the same time, a vibranium meteor failed at Wakanda and changed the environment of the region, making it vibranium rich, one of the strongest metals on Earth. It is also the birthplace of the first Black Panther. Next, we jump into the events of the 20th century. The year 1917, 18 and 20, respectively, Howard Stark, Steve Rogers, and Peggy Carter was born. In 1942, Hydra found out about the Tesseract and seeked to conquer the world under Johann Smith's command, or the Red Skull, as you all know. They made weapons using Arnim Zola's brilliant mind. In 1943, the first Stark Expo was conducted and Steven Rogers was made Captain America using the super soldier serums. The majority of the events of Captain America the First Avenger happened then. From 1943 to 45, Captain America fought against Hydra. In 1945, while fighting Hydra agents, his best friend Bucky Barnes fell to his apparent death. After his final battle with the Red Skull, he froze under the ice and Red Skull was transported to Vormir, holding the Tesseract. From the year 1946 to 48, the events of Agent Carter Season 1 and 2 happened. And in the 1950s, SHIELD, or the Strategic Homeland Intervention and Logistic Division, was founded by Howard Stark and Peggy Carter. In the year 1970, Tony Stark was born, or better known as Howard Stark. Meanwhile, in the background, Hydra was growing like a parasite inside SHIELD. Parasite, not symbiote. In the year 1980, Ego met Meredith Quill. Something happened between them, which led to the birth of Peter Quill, aka Star-Lord. 1984, Black Widow was born, or Natasha Alianova Romanov. In 1988, following Meredith Quill's death, Peter Quill was abducted by the Ravagers. In the year 1989, Air Force pilot Carol Danvers first encountered the Kree warriors and absorbed the power of the Tesseract. Also, Dr. Hank Pym resigns from SHIELD in the fear that the Pym particles would be used in the wrong hands. Prior to this, I don't know the exact year, but Hank Pym's wife Janet Van Dyne shrinks into the quantum realm, and Hank thinks that she is forever lost. In 1991, the Stark's assassination takes place by the Hydra brainwashed Winter Soldier. In 1992, King T'Chaka of Wakanda kills his brother N'Jobu for betraying him and surrendering a piece of vibranium to Ulysses Claw, leaving a young Egg Stevens outside wandering in the cold. That ended up horribly. In the year 1995, the events of Captain Marvel took place, and the Kree Skrull War happened with the young Nick Fury and Monica Rambeau. In the year 1999, at the beginning of 2000, or the 21st century, Tony Stark rejects the offer of Arlich Killian for working with him on the Extremis. Fortunately for Maya Hansen, she took the offer. The 21st century now. Now in the year 2005, Bruce Banner became Hulk. So it is very difficult to deduce verbally, but as a matter of the fact that the events of the Incredible Hulk took place after Iron Man 2, which was itself in 2010, and in the prelude of the Incredible Hulk movie, it was shown Bruce Banner became Hulk with infusing gamma radiation and the super soldier serum 5 years prior to the events of the movie. So that makes it 2005. Okay, so in 2010 early, Tony Stark became Iron Man after surviving the Afghanistan incident, recruited by Nick Fury. Then 6 months later, the events of Iron Man 2 takes place, where Vanko tries to join hands with Justin Hammer to overcome his vengeance against Stark regarding the arc reactor. Next, in 2011, both the events of Captain America, the first Avenger, that is Cap, wakes up in the present and meets Nick Fury, and the events of Thor takes place simultaneously. In 2012, the events of Avengers takes place, where Thanos, the Eternal or the Mad Titan, sends Loki with the scepter containing the Mind Stone to receive the Space Stone, that is the Tesseract, from Earth with the army called Chitauri. And in the aftermath of the war, Adrian Toomes and his crew were subjected to cleansing operations unless and until the Department of Damage Control, with joint ventures with Stark Industries, decided to crash the party and made them jobless. So that's why they became Vulture and became a black market criminal, along with the Shocker and the Tinkerer. They also subjugated some of the Chitauri artifacts from the war. In 2013, in the first half of 2013, the events of Iron Man 3 takes place, where Tony Stark went face to face with Ulrich Killian and the Mandarin and the fake Mandarin. And in the latter half of the 2013, the events of Thor: The Dark World takes place. So in 2014, the events of Captain America: The Winter Soldier takes place, and also the events of Guardians of the Galaxy. So in this movie we see that gave Ronan the Accuser, a Kree warlord, the task to retrieve the Power Stone. 3 to 4 months later of the events of the first film, the events of Guardians of the Galaxy took place. Though it was released 3 years later, but they took place in the same year. Next up is the events of Avengers: Age of Ultron, where Tony and Bruce decided to experiment on the Mind Stone and create a rogue AI named Ultron. This also marks the birth of Vision. And the events of Ant-Man also took place in the same year. In the backdrop, we also understand that Dr. Stephen Strange is also a brilliant neurosurgeon in these years, and in 2014 he injured his hands by the accident. So for 2 to 3.5 years he practiced at Kamar Taj to his hands, but also he becomes the Sorcerer Supreme of Earth, fighting Dormammu of the Dark Dimension, which we can see in the movie 2016, that is the Doctor Strange movie. Prior to the Doctor Strange movie and after the series of Ant-Man, the Civil War takes place, where Tony Stark first notices Spider-Man. War between Tony Stark and Captain America took place. Spider-Man also becomes a part of Tony's team, and King T'Chaka dies. While demonstrating the BARF technology, Tony Stark dismisses Quentin Beck of instability. Time of 2016 to 2018, early half, the events of Spider-Man: Homecoming, Black Panther and Thor: Ragnarok, probably Black Widow movie takes place. So in 2018, the snap occurs, and 50% of the universe decimates. Also in 2018, the events of Ant-Man and the Wasp takes place, where Ant-Man is hell-bent on rescuing Janet from the quantum realm and fighting Ghost. In the year 2018 itself, the aftermath of the Infinity War, when Thanos snaps, Captain Marvel comes into the Avengers compound to look for Fury and meets the Avengers for the first time. 22 days later, after the confrontation with Thanos, Tony Stark gets rescued from space, and together the Avengers go to Titan and kill the Thanos, the present one. 5 years later, the events of Endgame happen. Also, 8 months after the events of Avengers Endgame, the Spider-Man Far From Home takes place. Now in 2012, after the Avengers incident event, we see that in the main timeline Phil Coulson dies, but that's not the case because he was revived in the TV show called Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So a branching of reality takes place from here. Over the years, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. addressed the events of the MCU, but the MCU never addressed the events of the TV series. So ultimately they made it non-canon to the MCU, and the directors as well as Josh Whedon, the director of the first two Avengers movie, confirmed that the events of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. were based on an alternate timeline where Coulson survives, as well as the Netflix shows are not part of the main MCU timeline. So there are currently 4 to 5 branch timelines. At first, there is the main MCU timeline. Secondly, there is the timeline where there is the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. timeline. The corrected timeline from the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. TV series in season 7. Fourth, the alternate timeline created by the Avengers during the time heist, and which causes Loki to escape with the Space Stone or the Tesseract. And fifth, the writers of the film Avengers Endgame confirmed that Captain America went back in time to live with Peggy Carter and lived in the same timeline. But the directors confirmed that Captain America created a branch reality from this moment. So according to the logic of the movie, there are only 4 timelines.